The radio crackles with static as Flight 19 leader Lieutenant Charles Taylor's voice cuts through the interference. His words carrying a weight that would haunt aviation history forever. We are entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green, no white. These would be among the last coherent transmissions from the 5 Navy Avenger torpedo bombers that vanished without a trace on December 5, 1945, launching one of the most enduring mysteries our world has ever known. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next sleep story tomorrow. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail of what we're about to uncover together. Now, let me take you back to where it all began, long before the Bermuda Triangle had a name, long before it became synonymous with the impossible and the unexplained. Picture the Atlantic Ocean in the early days of European exploration, when ships were wooden vessels at the mercy of wind and wave, when navigation relied on stars and instinct rather than sophisticated instruments. Even then, sailors whispered of strange waters where compasses spun wildly, where the very air seemed to shimmer with unnatural energy, and where vessels simply vanished as if swallowed by the sea itself. The indigenous Lucayan people who inhabited the Bahamas for over 1,000 years before Columbus arrived had their own stories about these waters. They spoke of a place where the spirits of the ocean gathered, where the boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the ancestors grew thin. Their oral traditions passed down through generations described areas of the sea that would suddenly become calm as glass even during the fiercest storms, and others where violent tempests would appear from cloudless skies without warning. Christopher Columbus himself encountered the strange phenomena that would later define this region during his first voyage to the New World in 1492. As his 3 ships sailed through what we now know as the Sargasso Sea, part of the greater Bermuda Triangle region, Columbus noted in his ship's log that his compass began behaving erratically. The needle would swing away from magnetic north, pointing in directions that made no sense according to his understanding of navigation. His crew grew increasingly nervous as they witnessed strange lights dancing across the water at night, lights that seemed to move with purpose and intelligence. Columbus described these lights as resembling candles that would rise and fall, appear and disappear, as if held by invisible hands beneath the waves. The admiral himself witnessed what he described as a great flame of fire crashing into the sea, an event so spectacular and terrifying that it left even the seasoned explorer shaken. These accounts, recorded in his personal journal, represent some of the earliest documented encounters with the anomalous phenomena that would plague this region for centuries to come. But Columbus's experiences were just the beginning. As European exploration and colonization of the Americas intensified, more and more vessels reported similar strange occurrences in these waters. Spanish treasure galleons loaded with gold and silver from the New World would send their final transmissions from this area before disappearing completely, their fate unknown despite extensive search efforts. The Spanish Armada's archives contain dozens of reports from captains describing compass anomalies, sudden fog banks that would engulf ships in perfect weather, and mysterious islands that appeared on the horizon only to vanish when approached. One of the most haunting early accounts comes from the journal of Captain Joshua Slocum, the first person to sail solo around the world. During his historic voyage in the 1890s, Slocum reported encountering what he described as a phantom ship. While sailing through the waters near Bermuda, this ghostly vessel appeared to be from another era entirely, with sails full of wind despite the complete absence of any breeze. As Slocum watched in amazement, the ship drew alongside his own vessel, and he could see figures moving about on deck, figures that appeared translucent and ethereal. The phantom ship sailed parallel to Slocum's vessel for several hours, never responding to his attempts at communication. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the mysterious ship simply faded away like morning mist, leaving Slocum to question his own sanity. He would later write that the experience haunted him for the rest of his life, and he became convinced that the waters around Bermuda served as some kind of gateway between different realms of existence. The establishment of regular shipping lanes between Europe and the Americas in the 18th and 19th centuries brought increased traffic through the Bermuda Triangle region, and with it, more unexplained disappearances. The Lloyd's of London shipping records from this period contain numerous entries for vessels that vanished without distress signals, without wreckage, and without any explanation whatsoever. Ships would depart from ports like Boston, New York, or Savannah bound for European destinations, only to disappear somewhere in the vast expanse of the Western Atlantic. What made these disappearances particularly puzzling was their complete nature. When ships encounter storms, mechanical failures, or other disasters at sea, they typically leave some trace behind. Debris washes ashore, lifeboats are found, or wreckage surfaces days or weeks later. But the vessels that vanished in the Bermuda Triangle seemed to simply cease to exist, as if they had been plucked from the ocean by some unseen force and transported to another dimension entirely. The advent of radio communication in the early 20th century provided new insights into these mysterious disappearances, but it also deepened the mystery. Now, instead of ships simply failing to arrive at their destinations, rescue teams could hear their final moments transmitted across the airwaves. These radio transmissions often described phenomena that defied rational explanation: compasses spinning wildly, electronic equipment failing simultaneously, and strange atmospheric conditions that seemed to envelop vessels in otherworldly circumstances. One of the most chilling early radio transmissions came from the cargo vessel SS Cotopaxi in December 1925. The ship was traveling from Charleston to Havana when it sent its final message, a brief transmission stating simply, "Weather fair, all well." The ship was never heard from again, and despite extensive search efforts involving multiple Coast Guard vessels and aircraft, no trace of the Cotopaxi or its 32-member crew was ever found. The weather in the area at the time was indeed fair, with calm seas and clear skies, making the disappearance all the more inexplicable. The mystery deepened when investigators discovered that the Cotopaxi's final transmission had been received by multiple radio operators along the eastern seaboard, but each operator reported receiving the message at a slightly different time. Some heard it in the early morning, others in the afternoon, and still others claimed to have received the transmission days after the ship had been declared missing. This temporal anomaly would become a recurring theme in Bermuda Triangle incidents, suggesting that whatever force was at work in these waters operated outside the normal boundaries of space and time. As aviation technology developed and aircraft began crossing the Atlantic regularly, pilots reported their own encounters with the strange phenomena of the Bermuda Triangle. Commercial flights would experience sudden instrument failures, radio blackouts, and navigational anomalies that left even experienced aviators confused and disoriented. Many pilots described entering areas of disturbed air that seemed to exist in perfect weather conditions, zones where their aircraft would be buffeted by invisible forces, and their instruments would provide conflicting readings. The famous aviator Amelia Earhart herself reported strange experiences while flying over the Bermuda Triangle region during her various Atlantic crossings. In letters to her husband and fellow aviators, Earhart described encountering areas where her compass would swing wildly and her radio would fill with strange static punctuated by what sounded like voices speaking in unknown languages. She wrote about moments when time itself seemed to slow down or speed up, where flights that should have taken hours were completed in minutes, or conversely where brief journeys stretched on for what felt like days. These early aviation encounters set the stage for what would become the most famous disappearance in Bermuda Triangle history, the incident that would finally give this mysterious region its enduring name and cement its place in popular culture forever. But to understand the true significance of Flight 19's disappearance, we must first appreciate the long history of unexplained phenomena that preceded it, the centuries of sailors' tales and pilots' reports that established this area as fundamentally different from any other place on Earth. The waters that would become known as the Bermuda Triangle had been claiming vessels and confounding navigators for hundreds of years before anyone thought to connect these incidents or recognize the pattern they formed. Each disappearance was treated as an isolated incident, a tragic but explainable loss to the dangers of maritime travel. It wasn't until researchers began examining historical records and plotting these incidents on charts that the true scope of the mystery became apparent. When investigators first plotted these disappearances on maritime charts during the 1950s, a chilling pattern emerged that would forever change how we view this region of the Atlantic Ocean. The incidents weren't random occurrences scattered across the vast ocean, but rather formed a distinct triangular area stretching from Miami to Bermuda to Puerto Rico and back to Miami. This geometric precision seemed impossible to explain through mere coincidence, suggesting that some unknown force was operating within these specific boundaries. The person who first recognized this pattern was Vincent Gaddis, a writer and researcher who had spent years collecting accounts of maritime mysteries. In 1964, Gaddis published an article in Argosy magazine that would introduce the world to a term that would become synonymous with the unexplained, the Bermuda Triangle. His research revealed that within this triangular area, the rate of unexplained disappearances was statistically impossible to attribute to normal maritime hazards. What made Gaddis's work particularly compelling was his meticulous documentation of the atmospheric and electromagnetic anomalies reported within the triangle. Ship captains described entering zones where their magnetic compasses would not only point away from magnetic north, but would spin continuously, as if unable to find any reference point at all. Electronic equipment that functioned perfectly outside the triangle would malfunction or fail completely once vessels crossed into the mysterious waters. Pilots flying over the region reported even stranger phenomena. Aircraft instruments would provide readings that defied physics, showing the plane at impossible altitudes or traveling at speeds that exceeded their mechanical capabilities. Radio communications would become garbled with interference that seemed to carry voices from other times and places. Some aviators described experiencing what they called time slips, where their journey through the triangle would take far longer or shorter than their instruments indicated it should. The military had been quietly documenting these anomalies for decades, but it wasn't until civilian researchers like Gaddis began connecting the dots that the full scope of the mystery became apparent to the public. Classified Navy reports from the 1940s and 1950s described training missions where entire squadrons would experience simultaneous equipment failures while flying over the triangle. In some cases, aircraft would lose radio contact for hours, only to re-establish communication with controllers, who insisted that only minutes had passed. These temporal anomalies became one of the most disturbing aspects of the Bermuda Triangle mystery. The concept that time itself might flow differently within this region challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality. Survivors of triangle incidents often reported experiences that suggested they had somehow stepped outside the normal flow of time, spending what felt like hours or days in a state of suspended animation, while the outside world continued at its regular pace. The Coast Guard began maintaining detailed records of search and rescue operations within the triangle, and these files revealed patterns that defied conventional explanation. Search teams would arrive at last known coordinates to find absolutely nothing. No debris, no oil slicks, no evidence that a vessel had ever been present. The ocean within the triangle seemed to swallow ships and aircraft completely, leaving no trace of their existence. One of the most disturbing cases from this period involved the merchant vessel MV Joyita in 1955. While not strictly within the traditional Bermuda Triangle boundaries, the ship's disappearance shared many characteristics with triangle incidents. The Joyita was found partially submerged 5 weeks after its disappearance, but all 25 passengers and crew members were missing. The ship showed no signs of damage that would explain why it had been abandoned, and its cargo was largely intact. Most mysteriously, the logbook had been removed, and all the clocks on board had stopped at the same time. The investigation into the Joyita revealed that several other vessels in the area had reported strange electromagnetic phenomena on the day of the disappearance. Radio operators described hearing distress calls that seemed to come from empty ocean, and radar operators tracked objects that appeared and disappeared without following any logical flight patterns. The incident suggested that whatever force operated within the Bermuda Triangle might have a much larger sphere of influence than previously thought. As word of the Bermuda Triangle spread through popular culture, more and more people began coming forward with their own experiences in the region. Commercial airline pilots, many of whom had initially been reluctant to report anomalous incidents for fear of damaging their careers, began sharing stories of encounters that had left them questioning their understanding of aviation and physics. Captain Bruce Jernan became one of the most vocal witnesses to triangle phenomena after his experience in 1970. Flying a Beechcraft Bonanza from Andros Island to Palm Beach, Jernan encountered what he described as a tunnel-shaped cloud that seemed to engulf his aircraft. Inside this cloud, his instruments went haywire, and he experienced what felt like time compression. A flight that should have taken 75 minutes was completed in just 47 minutes. And when he landed, his fuel consumption was far less than it should have been for the distance travelled. Jernan's account was particularly significant because it was corroborated by ground control radar, which tracked his aircraft disappearing from screens for several minutes before reappearing much closer to his destination than should have been possible. The incident suggested that the triangle's effects weren't limited to causing disappearances, but could also involve some form of transportation or teleportation phenomenon. The scientific community initially dismissed reports of Bermuda Triangle phenomena as sensationalized accounts of normal maritime hazards. Skeptics pointed out that the triangle covered one of the busiest shipping and aviation corridors in the world, making it statistically likely that accidents would occur there. They argued that the mysterious aspects of these incidents were exaggerated or misrepresented, and that conventional explanations could account for all the disappearances. However, as more data accumulated and technology improved, it became increasingly difficult to dismiss all triangle incidents as coincidence or misperception. Satellite imagery began revealing atmospheric anomalies over the region that defied meteorological explanation. Ocean floor mapping detected unusual magnetic signatures and geological formations that seemed to concentrate within the triangle's boundaries. Deep-sea exploration revealed underwater formations that some researchers believed might be artificial structures, though their origin remained unexplained. The development of GPS technology provided new insights into the triangle's effects on navigation systems. Modern vessels equipped with multiple redundant navigation systems would still experience instrument failures when entering certain areas within the triangle. GPS units would provide conflicting coordinates. Electronic compasses would spin wildly, and automated navigation systems would shut down completely. These failures affected the most advanced equipment available, suggesting that whatever force was at work in the triangle operated on principles that transcended conventional technology. Marine biologists studying the region discovered additional anomalies that added to the mystery. Fish migration patterns showed unusual disruptions within the triangle, with entire schools changing direction abruptly as if fleeing from something in the water. Whale tracking data revealed that these intelligent marine mammals consistently avoided certain areas within the triangle, following migration routes that created noticeable gaps in their normal patterns. The triangle's effects on wildlife weren't limited to marine species. Bird migration routes showed similar disruptions, with flocks breaking formation and becoming disoriented when flying over certain areas. Researchers documented instances of migratory birds landing on ships in apparent confusion, their natural navigation systems overwhelmed by whatever forces operated within the triangle. Oceanographic studies revealed that the water within the triangle exhibited unusual properties that couldn't be explained by known physical laws. Temperature variations occurred in patterns that defied ocean current models, with pockets of dramatically different water temperatures existing in close proximity without mixing. Chemical analysis revealed trace elements and isotopic signatures that didn't match the surrounding Atlantic waters, suggesting that the triangle might somehow be connected to water sources from other locations, or even other times. The geological structure beneath the triangle also proved to be unusual. Sonar mapping revealed underwater formations that some researchers interpreted as artificial constructions, though their age and origin remained mysterious. These structures appeared to be arranged in geometric patterns that seemed too regular to be natural formations, leading to speculation about ancient civilizations or non-human intelligence. As research into the Bermuda Triangle intensified, scientists began developing theories to explain the anomalous phenomena. Some proposed that the triangle sat above unusual geological formations that created electromagnetic fields strong enough to disrupt navigation equipment. Others suggested that methane gas eruptions from the ocean floor might create bubbles that could reduce water density enough to sink ships or create atmospheric disturbances that could down aircraft. The methane hydrate theory gained considerable attention because it could potentially explain both disappearances and the lack of wreckage. Massive methane eruptions could theoretically create areas of reduced water density that would cause ships to sink rapidly, while the gas could also create atmospheric conditions that would down aircraft. The methane would eventually disperse, leaving no trace of the catastrophic event that had caused the disappearances. However, even these scientific theories couldn't account for all aspects of triangle incidents. The temporal anomalies, the electromagnetic effects, and the precise geographical boundaries of the phenomenon suggested that multiple forces might be at work, or that the true cause operated on principles not yet understood by conventional science. The mystery deepened further when researchers discovered that the Bermuda Triangle wasn't the only region on Earth where such phenomena occurred. Similar areas with high rates of unexplained disappearances and anomalous incidents were identified in other parts of the world, including the Dragon's Triangle off the coast of Japan and an area in the Great Lakes known as the Michigan Triangle. These discoveries suggested that whatever force created the Bermuda Triangle might be part of a global pattern of mysterious zones. The existence of multiple triangle-like areas raised new questions about the nature of these phenomena. Were they connected somehow, perhaps part of a worldwide network of anomalous zones? Did they share common geological or electromagnetic characteristics that made them susceptible to whatever forces caused the mysterious incidents? The answers remained elusive, but the patterns suggested that the Bermuda Triangle mystery was far larger and more complex than anyone had initially imagined. The implications of discovering multiple triangle zones around the globe sent shockwaves through the scientific community and transformed how researchers approached the mystery. Dr. Ivan Sanderson, a biologist and paranormal investigator, became fascinated by these patterns and began mapping what he called vile vortices around the world. His research identified 12 specific areas where the laws of physics seemed to operate differently, creating zones of anomalous activity that defied conventional explanation. Sanderson's work revealed that these mysterious areas weren't randomly distributed across the Earth's surface, but appeared to follow specific geometric patterns. When connected on a global map, the 12 zones formed what appeared to be an icosahedral grid, a complex, three-dimensional shape that suggested some underlying planetary mechanism was responsible for their creation. This geometric precision seemed too exact to be coincidental, implying that Earth itself might possess some kind of energy matrix that created these anomalous zones. The most disturbing aspect of Sanderson's research was the discovery that these vile vortices had been active throughout recorded history. Ancient civilizations had identified and avoided many of these areas, building their trade routes and settlements to circumnavigate zones they considered cursed or dangerous. Traditional navigation charts from various cultures contained warnings about specific ocean areas where compasses failed and ships disappeared. Warnings that corresponded remarkably well with Sanderson's modern mapping of anomalous zones. Japanese researchers had been quietly studying their own version of the Bermuda Triangle, known as the Mano Umi, or Devil's Sea, for decades before Western scientists became aware of the global pattern. Located in the Pacific Ocean south of Tokyo, this triangular area had claimed dozens of vessels and aircraft under circumstances eerily similar to Bermuda Triangle incidents. Japanese maritime records dating back centuries described the same electromagnetic anomalies, temporal distortions, and complete disappearances that plagued the Atlantic Triangle. The Dragon's Triangle, as it became known in Western literature, exhibited some phenomena that were even more extreme than those reported in the Bermuda Triangle. Japanese fishing vessels reported encounters with massive underwater objects that appeared on sonar but couldn't be visually confirmed. These objects seemed to move with intelligent purpose, rising from the ocean depths to investigate surface vessels before disappearing back into the abyss. Some fishermen described being pulled off course by powerful underwater currents that appeared suddenly and vanished just as quickly. Currents that seemed to operate independently of known ocean circulation patterns. Aircraft flying over the Dragon's Triangle reported similar experiences to those documented in the Bermuda Triangle, but with additional elements that suggested the Pacific anomaly might be even more active. Pilots described encountering atmospheric phenomena that resembled massive, invisible structures in the sky. Their instruments would register solid objects where nothing could be seen, and radar would show formations of unidentified objects moving in precise geometric patterns at impossible speeds. The discovery of the Michigan Triangle in the Great Lakes added another dimension to the mystery. This freshwater anomaly centered on Lake Michigan demonstrated that the triangle phenomenon wasn't limited to oceanic environments. Ships and aircraft disappeared over the Great Lakes under circumstances that mirrored those in the Bermuda and Dragon Triangles, complete with electromagnetic interference, navigation failures, and the complete absence of wreckage. What made the Michigan Triangle particularly intriguing was its interaction with the aurora borealis. Witnesses reported seeing aurora-like phenomena over Lake Michigan, even when geomagnetic conditions didn't support such displays. These mysterious lights appeared to be connected to disappearance incidents, with several vessels reporting encounters with dancing lights in the sky immediately before losing radio contact and vanishing without trace. The Great Lakes Triangle also exhibited temporal anomalies similar to those reported in oceanic zones. Coast Guard vessels responding to distress calls would arrive at reported coordinates to find no trace of the missing craft, but local residents would report seeing lights and hearing sounds from the missing vessels for days or weeks after their disappearance. These phantom signals suggested that time itself flowed differently within the triangle, creating echoes or imprints of past events that continued to manifest long after the original incidents. As researchers compiled data from triangle zones around the world, disturbing patterns emerged that suggested these areas might be interconnected in ways that transcended conventional physics. Incidents in one triangle zone often coincided with increased activity in others, as if the various anomalous areas were part of a single global system. When a major disappearance occurred in the Bermuda Triangle, researchers noted corresponding increases in electromagnetic disturbances and unusual phenomena in the Dragon's Triangle and other vile vortices. This synchronicity led some scientists to propose that the triangle zones might be connected through dimensional gateways or space-time distortions that allowed events in one area to influence activities in distant zones. The theory suggested that Earth might exist within a complex matrix of intersecting dimensions, with the triangle areas serving as points where these different realities overlapped or intersected. Seismologists studying the geological foundations beneath various triangle zones discovered another disturbing connection. Each anomalous area sat above unique geological formations that exhibited similar characteristics, despite being separated by thousands of miles. These formations contained unusual mineral compositions and crystal structures that some researchers believed might act as natural conductors for unknown forms of energy. The crystal formations found beneath triangle zones displayed properties that defied conventional mineralogy. They appeared to store and amplify electromagnetic energy in ways that shouldn't be possible according to known physics. When subjected to various forms of energy input, these crystals would resonate at frequencies that created interference patterns throughout the electromagnetic spectrum, potentially explaining the navigation and communication failures reported in triangle incidents. Deep drilling projects in several triangle zones revealed even more mysterious findings. Core samples brought up from the depths contained materials that appeared to be artificially manufactured, despite being embedded in geological strata that were millions of years old. These materials displayed technological sophistication that seemed impossible for their apparent age, suggesting either that human civilization was far older than previously believed, or that non-human intelligence had been active on Earth for geological time periods. The manufactured materials found in triangle zones shared common characteristics regardless of their geographical location. They all contained isotopic signatures that didn't match any known terrestrial sources, and their atomic structures displayed patterns that suggested they had been created using technologies beyond current human capabilities. Spectroscopic analysis revealed elements and compounds that existed nowhere else on Earth, leading some researchers to speculate that these materials might be of extraterrestrial origin. Radio telescopes monitoring electromagnetic emissions from triangle zones detected signals that appeared to be artificially generated but followed no recognizable pattern. These signals operated on frequencies that penetrated Earth's atmosphere with unusual efficiency, suggesting they might be designed for long-distance communication across space. The signals exhibited characteristics that implied intelligence behind their generation, but their meaning remained completely opaque to human researchers. The electromagnetic signatures from triangle zones also displayed temporal variations that seemed to follow astronomical cycles. Activity levels fluctuated in patterns that corresponded to planetary alignments, solar activity, and other celestial events. This astronomical connection suggested that the triangle phenomena might be influenced by forces operating on a cosmic scale, making Earth part of some larger galactic or universal system. Atmospheric scientists studying triangle zones discovered that these areas exhibited unique weather patterns that couldn't be explained by conventional meteorology. Cloud formations would appear and disappear without following normal atmospheric dynamics, and pressure systems would develop that seemed to operate independently of surrounding weather conditions. These atmospheric anomalies often coincided with disappearance incidents, suggesting that the triangle phenomena might involve some form of weather control or atmospheric manipulation. The atmospheric disturbances in triangle zones also affected radio wave propagation in ways that created communication anomalies extending far beyond the immediate areas. Radio signals would bounce and refract through triangle atmospheres, creating phantom transmissions that could be received thousands of miles away. These reflected signals often carried voices and communications from missing vessels and aircraft, broadcasting their final moments to receivers located far from the original incident sites. Temperature measurements within triangle zones revealed thermal anomalies that defied thermodynamic principles. Pockets of dramatically different temperatures would exist in close proximity without any apparent heat source or sink to explain the variations. These temperature gradients created convection patterns that could potentially generate the atmospheric disturbances reported by pilots and the ocean currents that affected surface vessels. Ocean current mapping within triangle zones showed flow patterns that violated known principles of fluid dynamics. Currents would flow uphill against gravity, change direction without any apparent force causing the deviation, and create whirlpools and eddies that seem to operate independently of surrounding water movement. These anomalous currents could potentially explain how surface vessels might be pulled off course or drawn into dangerous areas despite calm surface conditions. The magnetic field measurements in triangle zones revealed perhaps the most disturbing anomalies of all. Compass readings would not only deviate from magnetic north, but would point toward locations that seemed to move and shift over time. The magnetic anomalies followed patterns that suggested the presence of massive magnetic objects beneath the ocean floor, objects that appeared to move or change orientation periodically. Satellite magnetometer data revealed that the magnetic anomalies in triangle zones extended far into the upper atmosphere, creating disturbances in Earth's magnetosphere that could potentially affect spacecraft and satellites passing overhead. These high-altitude magnetic disturbances seem to pulse in regular patterns, suggesting they might be artificially generated rather than natural phenomena. The cumulative evidence from triangle zones around the world painted a picture of Earth as a far more mysterious and complex world than previously imagined. The planet appeared to contain numerous areas where the normal laws of physics operated differently, where time and space might be distorted, and where unknown intelligences might be active. These discoveries transformed the Bermuda Triangle from an isolated mystery into part of a global phenomenon that challenged fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality itself. As researchers continued to gather data from triangle zones worldwide, they began to realize that they were dealing with something far beyond conventional scientific understanding. The phenomena exhibited characteristics that suggested advanced technology, possible extraterrestrial involvement, and connections to cosmic forces that operated on scales beyond human comprehension. The mystery that had begun with Christopher Columbus's strange compass readings had evolved into questions that touched the very foundations of human knowledge about Earth and its place in the universe. The investigation into these global triangle phenomena reached a critical turning point in 1974, when Dr. Charles Berlitz published his groundbreaking book that would forever cement the Bermuda Triangle's place in popular consciousness. Berlitz's work compiled decades of incident reports, witness testimonies, and official documents that had previously been scattered across military archives, maritime records, and newspaper accounts. His meticulous research revealed patterns that even the most skeptical scientists couldn't easily dismiss. What made Berlitz's contribution particularly significant was his access to previously classified military documents that detailed the true scope of triangle incidents. Through Freedom of Information Act requests and connections within the military establishment, Berlitz obtained files that revealed the Pentagon had been quietly investigating triangle phenomena for decades. These classified reports described incidents far more extraordinary than anything that had been made public, including encounters with unidentified submerged objects and aircraft that seemed to operate using unknown propulsion systems. The military documents revealed that triangle incidents weren't limited to civilian vessels and aircraft. Military ships and planes had been experiencing similar phenomena since World War II, but these incidents had been classified to prevent public panic and protect national security interests. Naval vessels equipped with the most advanced radar and sonar systems available would detect objects moving underwater at speeds that exceeded anything in the known arsenal of any nation. One particularly disturbing military report described an encounter between a nuclear submarine and a massive unidentified object in the depths of the Bermuda Triangle. The submarine's sonar detected an object larger than any known vessel, moving at depths that should have crushed any conventional craft. When the submarine attempted to investigate, its instruments began malfunctioning, and the crew reported hearing sounds through the hull that seemed to come from some form of mechanical intelligence. The submarine incident was corroborated by surface vessels in the area, which reported seeing unusual disturbances in the water and detecting electromagnetic pulses that temporarily disabled their communication equipment. The coordinated nature of these observations suggested that whatever was operating beneath the triangle's waters possessed sophisticated technology and the ability to affect multiple vessels simultaneously. Air Force records revealed similar encounters involving military aircraft that had been patrolling the triangle region. Fighter jets equipped with advanced radar systems would detect formations of objects moving at impossible speeds and making turns that would generate G-forces fatal to any human pilot. When pilots attempted to intercept these objects, they would experience complete instrument failure and find themselves disoriented and off course, often landing with less fuel than their flight time should have required. The most classified documents described incidents where entire military formations had encountered what appeared to be structured craft of unknown origin. These objects would appear on radar screens as solid contacts, but visual confirmation was impossible due to some form of cloaking or invisibility technology. The craft would demonstrate flight characteristics that violated known laws of aerodynamics, hovering motionless in hurricane-force winds or accelerating from stationary positions to supersonic speeds instantaneously. Intelligence analysts studying these military encounters noted that the unidentified objects seemed to be conducting some form of systematic surveillance or research. The craft would appear near military vessels and aircraft, observe them for periods ranging from minutes to hours, then depart using flight patterns that suggested intelligence and purpose rather than random movement. The objects seemed particularly interested in naval vessels carrying nuclear weapons or powered by nuclear reactors. Berlitz's research also uncovered civilian accounts that had been suppressed or ignored by mainstream media. Commercial airline pilots had been reporting triangle encounters for decades, but had been reluctant to go public for fear of losing their careers. These pilots described experiences that paralleled military encounters, including radar contact with objects that moved in impossible ways and electromagnetic interference that affected all onboard systems simultaneously. One of the most compelling civilian accounts came from Captain Don Henry, an experienced commercial pilot who encountered a massive unidentified object while flying through the Triangle in 1973. Henry's aircraft was suddenly engulfed in a strange, luminous cloud that seemed to move with the plane rather than being a natural atmospheric phenomenon. Inside this cloud, all instruments failed except for the magnetic compass, which spun wildly before pointing toward what Henry described as a huge metallic structure that appeared to be floating in the air alongside his aircraft. The object that Henry observed was larger than any known aircraft, with a smooth, seamless surface that reflected light in ways that seemed almost liquid. The structure made no sound and left no exhaust trail, yet it maintained perfect formation with his commercial airliner for nearly 20 minutes. When Henry attempted to radio air traffic control, his communications equipment produced only static, but he could hear what sounded like voices speaking in an unknown language mixed with the interference. Henry's encounter was particularly significant because it was partially corroborated by ground-based radar, which tracked an unidentified object in the vicinity of his aircraft for the duration of the incident. However, the radar signature showed an object much smaller than what Henry described, suggesting that whatever he encountered might have had the ability to mask its true size or manipulate radar returns to appear different from its actual dimensions. The psychological effects of triangle encounters became another area of intensive study, as researchers realized that witnesses often experienced lasting changes after their experiences. Many reported enhanced psychic abilities, precognitive dreams, and an inexplicable knowledge of scientific concepts they had never studied. Some witnesses claimed to receive telepathic communications that provided technical information about advanced propulsion systems and energy sources. Dr. William Roll, a psychologist specializing in paranormal phenomena, conducted extensive interviews with triangle witnesses and discovered consistent patterns in their post-encounter experiences. Many reported vivid dreams that seemed to contain technical blueprints for devices they couldn't understand, while others described receiving mental images of star charts and astronomical data that proved to be accurate when checked against scientific observations. The most disturbing aspect of these psychological changes was the witnesses' consistent reports of missing time during their encounters. People would enter the Triangle region and emerge with gaps in their memory, sometimes losing hours or even days with no recollection of what had occurred. Hypnotic regression sessions often revealed memories of being taken aboard unidentified craft and subjected to medical examinations by beings that didn't appear to be human. These abduction accounts shared remarkable similarities, despite coming from witnesses who had never met or communicated with each other. The beings described were typically small, grey-skinned entities with large eyes and advanced technology that could heal injuries and modify memories. The witnesses reported being shown visions of Earth's future that included both catastrophic destruction and technological advancement that would solve humanity's environmental and energy problems. Researchers studying the triangle phenomena began to notice correlations between incident frequency and various astronomical events, Disappearances and encounters seem to increase during periods of high solar activity, planetary alignments, and lunar phases. This celestial connection suggested that whatever forces operated within the triangle might be influenced by cosmic energy fluctuations that affected Earth's magnetic field and gravitational environment. The solar connection proved particularly intriguing when researchers discovered that triangle activity often peaked during solar storms and coronal mass ejections. These space weather events created electromagnetic disturbances that could potentially open gateways between dimensions, or provide the energy necessary to power advanced propulsion systems. Some theorists proposed that the triangle zones might be collection points for cosmic energy that was being harvested by unknown intelligences. Geological surveys of the ocean floor beneath triangle zones revealed additional anomalies that defied conventional explanation. Deep-sea drilling projects brought up core samples containing crystalline formations that exhibited piezoelectric properties far beyond anything found in natural minerals. These crystals could generate substantial electrical currents when subjected to pressure or vibration, potentially creating the electromagnetic fields that disrupted navigation equipment. The crystal formations beneath the triangle appeared to be arranged in geometric patterns that resembled technological arrays rather than natural geological structures. Sonar mapping revealed that these crystalline deposits extended deep into the Earth's crust, forming vast networks that connected different triangle zones around the globe. The discovery suggested that the planet might contain an ancient technological infrastructure that predated human civilization by millions of years. Carbon dating of organic materials found embedded within the crystalline formations produced impossible results, with some samples showing ages that exceeded the formation of the solar system itself. These temporal anomalies suggested that the triangle zones might exist outside normal space-time, serving as intersection points where different timelines or dimensions overlapped. Marine biologists studying the waters within triangle zones discovered that marine life exhibited unusual behaviors and physiological changes that couldn't be explained by known biological processes. Fish populations showed genetic mutations that appeared beneficial rather than harmful, with enhanced sensory capabilities and resistance to environmental toxins. Some species exhibited bioluminescent properties that weren't found in their counterparts outside the triangle regions. The most remarkable discovery involved dolphins and whales that frequented triangle waters. These marine mammals demonstrated intelligence levels that exceeded normal parameters for their species, showing problem-solving abilities and communication skills that suggested they might have been enhanced through contact with unknown technologies. Hydrophone recordings captured whale songs that contained mathematical sequences and frequency patterns that resembled technological signals rather than natural vocalizations. Underwater cameras deployed in triangle zones occasionally captured footage of structures that appeared to be artificial constructions on the ocean floor. These formations exhibited architectural elements that seemed designed by intelligence, with geometric shapes and proportional relationships that suggested advanced mathematical understanding. The structures appeared to be constructed from materials that didn't corrode or accumulate marine growth, maintaining their pristine appearance despite being submerged for unknown periods. The artificial structures detected in triangle zones shared design elements with ancient architectural sites around the world, including pyramids, stone circles, and megalithic complexes. This connection suggested that the same intelligence responsible for the underwater constructions might have been involved in guiding human civilization throughout history. The possibility that ancient monuments were part of a global technological network controlled by non-human intelligence challenged fundamental assumptions about human cultural development. Electromagnetic mapping of triangle zones revealed energy patterns that resembled technological signatures rather than natural phenomena. These energy fields pulsed in regular sequences that suggested information transmission or power distribution systems. The patterns were remarkably similar across different triangle zones, indicating that the various anomalous areas were indeed part of a coordinated global network. Satellite monitoring of triangle regions detected periodic bursts of energy that extended far beyond Earth's atmosphere, suggesting that the triangle zones might be communication or transportation hubs connected to locations in space. These energy emissions followed astronomical cycles and seemed to be timed to coincide with the positions of specific celestial bodies, indicating a sophisticated understanding of cosmic mechanics. The discovery that triangle phenomena operated according to astronomical cycles led researchers to examine ancient calendars and astronomical knowledge from various civilizations. Many ancient cultures possessed detailed knowledge of celestial mechanics that shouldn't have been possible without advanced instruments and mathematical understanding. These civilizations also built monuments and structures aligned with the same astronomical events that seemed to trigger increased triangle activity. The connection between ancient knowledge and triangle phenomena suggested that human civilization might have received guidance from the same intelligence operating within the anomalous zones. This possibility implied that the triangle mystery wasn't simply about unexplained disappearances and strange phenomena, but might represent evidence of ongoing contact between humanity and advanced non-human intelligence that had been influencing Earth's development for thousands of years. As evidence accumulated from multiple sources and investigation techniques, the Bermuda Triangle mystery evolved from a collection of unexplained incidents into a window into fundamental questions about Earth's place in the universe and humanity's relationship with cosmic intelligence. The phenomena suggested that our planet was far more complex and mysterious than conventional science had recognized, containing technologies and intelligences that operated according to principles beyond current human understanding. The implications of these discoveries extended far beyond the boundaries of the triangle zones themselves, suggesting that Earth might serve as an experimental laboratory or monitoring station for intelligences that possess technology indistinguishable from magic. The triangle phenomena represented just the visible portion of a vast and ancient system that connected our planet to a cosmic community operating on scales of time and space that dwarfed human civilization. The revelation that Earth might serve as some kind of cosmic laboratory sent shockwaves through the small community of researchers who had dedicated their lives to understanding the triangle phenomena. As classified documents continued to surface through Freedom of Information Act requests and whistleblower testimonies, a disturbing picture began to emerge of systematic cover-ups that stretched back decades. Government agencies had not only been aware of the triangle's anomalous properties, but had been actively studying and potentially collaborating with the unknown intelligences operating within these zones. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, the astronomer who had served as scientific consultant to the Air Force's Project Blue Book, privately confirmed that triangle incidents represented a separate category of phenomena that couldn't be explained by conventional UFO theories. In confidential memos that wouldn't be declassified until the 1990s, Hynek described the triangle zones as windows or portals that provided access points between different dimensions or realities. His analysis suggested that the disappearances weren't random accidents, but represented some form of systematic collection or transportation process. The notion that humans might be subjects in some vast experiment gained credibility when researchers discovered that many triangle witnesses shared common genetic markers that were extremely rare in the general population. Blood samples from survivors and family members of the disappeared revealed unusual chromosomal patterns that seemed to indicate some form of genetic modification or selection criteria. The implications were terrifying. Whatever intelligence operated within the triangle zones appeared to be conducting long-term genetic studies on the human species. Medical examinations of triangle encounter survivors revealed additional anomalies that supported the experimentation theory. Many witnesses showed evidence of surgical procedures that had been performed with technology far beyond current medical capabilities. Microscopic implants were discovered in various locations throughout their bodies, devices constructed from materials that didn't exist in any known periodic table. These implants appeared to monitor biological functions and possibly transmit data to unknown recipients. The psychological profiles of triangle witnesses also revealed consistent patterns that suggested they had been selected according to specific criteria. Many possessed above-average intelligence, creative abilities, or psychic sensitivities that set them apart from the general population. Some had family histories of similar encounters, stretching back multiple generations, indicating that whatever was conducting these studies might be tracking bloodlines over extended periods. Government involvement in triangle research became undeniable when former military personnel began speaking publicly about secret programs designed to monitor and interact with the unknown intelligences. Colonel Philip Corso, who had served in the Pentagon's Foreign Technology Division, revealed that the military had recovered technology from triangle incidents and had been attempting to reverse engineer these devices for decades. The stealth technology, fiber optics, and integrated circuits that revolutionized modern electronics all contained elements that had been derived from triangle encounters. The military's attempts to establish communication with triangle intelligences had met with limited success, but enough contact had been established to confirm that the phenomena were controlled by non-human entities with capabilities that far exceeded anything in the human arsenal. These beings had demonstrated the ability to manipulate matter at the atomic level, control gravitational fields, and traverse vast distances through space-time in ways that violated known laws of physics. Naval intelligence documents revealed that underwater installations had been detected within several triangle zones, massive structures that appeared to be mining or processing facilities of unknown purpose. These installations showed up on sonar as geometric formations too regular to be natural, but attempts to investigate them directly resulted in equipment failures and the loss of unmanned submersibles. The few images that were recovered showed structures that appeared to be constructed from a crystalline material that reflected sonar and light in impossible ways. The underwater installations seemed to be connected by a network of tunnels or conduits that extended far beyond the triangle boundaries. Seismic monitoring detected movements within these tunnel systems that suggested regular traffic of some kind, possibly vehicles or transport systems that operated according to principles unknown to human engineering. The scale of these underground networks implied that the triangle phenomena might be just the surface manifestation of a much larger presence that had established extensive infrastructure beneath the ocean floors. Deep-sea exploration missions funded by various government agencies had encountered evidence of active mining operations in triangle zones, with rare earth elements and exotic materials being extracted by automated systems that operated without any apparent human oversight. The mining equipment observed during these missions utilized energy sources that produced no detectable emissions and construction techniques that seemed to grow materials rather than assemble them from component parts. The materials being extracted from Triangle Zone mining operations included elements that existed nowhere else on Earth, substances with atomic structures that suggested they had been artificially created using technology that could manipulate matter at the subatomic level. Analysis of these materials revealed properties that could revolutionize human technology if their secrets could be understood, including room-temperature superconductors, materials with negative mass, and crystals that could store enormous amounts of energy in stable configurations. Attempts to establish formal diplomatic contact with triangle intelligences had been conducted through various back-channel military programs, but these efforts had met with mixed results. The entities seemed willing to engage in limited exchanges of information, but maintained strict boundaries about what knowledge they would share and under what circumstances. They appeared to be following some kind of non-interference protocol that allowed them to study human civilization while minimizing their direct impact on its development. The few successful communications that had been established revealed that the triangle intelligences viewed themselves as caretakers or shepherds of Earth's biosphere, with responsibility for maintaining planetary stability and guiding evolutionary processes. They indicated that similar programs were operating on countless worlds throughout the galaxy, part of a vast network of civilizations working to nurture the development of consciousness throughout the universe. The beings operating within triangle zones claimed to have been monitoring Earth for millions of years, observing the rise and fall of numerous civilizations that had preceded humanity. They suggested that human civilization was just one of many species that had evolved on Earth under their guidance, and that previous advanced cultures had either transcended physical existence or had been relocated to other worlds when their development reached critical thresholds. This revelation cast ancient mythologies and religious traditions in an entirely new light, suggesting that stories of gods descending from the heavens might be cultural memories of actual contact with the Triangle intelligences. Archaeological evidence began to support this interpretation, as researchers discovered that many ancient sites were located at positions that corresponded to historical Triangle Zone boundaries, indicating that these areas had been recognized as special or sacred throughout human history. The Triangle intelligences also provided warnings about humanity's current trajectory, indicating that Earth was approaching environmental and social thresholds that could trigger intervention protocols. They suggested that the increasing frequency of Triangle incidents in recent decades was preparation for more direct involvement in human affairs, should civilization prove unable to resolve its mounting crises through its own efforts. Climate change, nuclear proliferation, and environmental destruction were identified as primary concerns that could necessitate more active intervention. The beings indicated that they possessed the technology to reverse environmental damage and provide clean energy solutions, but that such assistance would come with conditions that would fundamentally alter human society and its relationship with both the planet and the broader cosmic community. The prospect of open contact with Triangle intelligences created intense debates within government circles about how such revelations should be managed. Some officials argued for gradual disclosure that would prepare the public for eventual open contact, while others insisted that the social and religious disruption would be too severe to risk. Military leaders were particularly concerned about the implications for national security and global power structures if advanced alien technology became widely available. Economic analysts predicted that open contact with Triangle intelligences would trigger massive disruptions in global markets, as entire industries based on scarcity of energy and materials would become obsolete overnight. The petroleum industry, nuclear power generation, and much of the manufacturing sector would be rendered irrelevant by technologies that could provide unlimited clean energy and transmute elements at will. Religious institutions grappled with theological implications that challenged fundamental doctrines about humanity's special relationship with the divine. Some religious leaders interpreted the Triangle phenomena as evidence of angelic intervention, while others saw them as demonic deceptions designed to lead humanity astray. The diversity of religious responses highlighted the profound philosophical challenges that open contact would create for human civilization. Scientific institutions faced their own crises, as the Triangle phenomena challenged basic assumptions about physics, chemistry, and biology that form the foundation of academic knowledge. Researchers who had dedicated their careers to understanding the universe according to conventional scientific principles found themselves confronting evidence that their entire worldview might be fundamentally incomplete or incorrect. The psychological impact on individual researchers was often severe, with many experiencing what psychologists termed cosmic shock, as they struggled to integrate the reality of advanced alien presence with their previous understanding of humanity's place in the universe. Support groups were quietly established to help scientists and military personnel cope with the existential implications of their discoveries. Educational systems began covertly preparing for eventual disclosure by gradually introducing concepts related to astrobiology, multiple dimensions, and the possibility of non-human intelligence. Science curricula were subtly modified to include discussions of alternative physics theories and the limitations of current scientific understanding, laying groundwork for more dramatic revelations that might come in the future. Media organizations were approached by government representatives who provided background briefings on Triangle phenomena, while emphasizing the need for responsible reporting that wouldn't trigger public panic. Journalists who covered these stories often found themselves under surveillance and pressure to limit their investigations to avoid compromising national security interests. Public opinion polling conducted by various agencies revealed that while most people claimed to be interested in the possibility of alien contact, the reality of such contact would likely trigger widespread social disruption. Focus groups exposed to detailed information about triangle phenomena often responded with disbelief, fear, or demands for immediate military action against the perceived alien threat. The international implications of triangle phenomena created additional complications as different nations possessed varying levels of knowledge about the intelligences operating within these zones. Countries with significant triangle activity within their territorial waters had developed their own research programs and contact protocols, leading to concerns about technological advantages and the potential for conflicts over access to alien resources. The United Nations began quietly developing frameworks for managing eventual disclosure and establishing international protocols for dealing with non-human intelligence. These efforts were complicated by the fact that the triangle intelligences seemed to recognize no human political boundaries and appeared to have their own criteria for determining which governments or institutions they would communicate with. Corporate interests became involved as major technology companies and defense contractors sought access to triangle-derived technologies that could provide enormous competitive advantages. The prospect of reverse engineering alien technology created a new form of industrial espionage as companies attempted to gain access to classified research programs and recruit personnel with knowledge of triangle phenomena. The pharmaceutical industry showed particular interest in the biological modifications observed in triangle encounter witnesses, seeking to understand how alien technology might be used to enhance human cognitive abilities and extend lifespan. Medical research programs were established to study the implants and genetic changes found in triangle witnesses, though the ethical implications of such research remained largely unaddressed. Agricultural corporations investigated reports that triangle zones exhibited unusual plant growth and crop yields that seemed to be enhanced by unknown environmental factors. Soil samples from triangle regions contained microorganisms and mineral compositions that could potentially revolutionize farming practices and address global food security challenges. The energy sector faced the most dramatic potential disruption from triangle technologies, as the unlimited clean energy capabilities demonstrated by the alien installations could render all conventional power generation obsolete. Oil companies and utilities began quietly investing in research programs designed to understand and potentially control access to these revolutionary energy sources. Financial markets began showing subtle responses to triangle-related developments as sophisticated investors recognized the potential for massive technological disruption. Commodity prices fluctuated in response to rumors about alien mining operations, while technology stocks experienced volatility based on speculation about access to advanced alien systems. The insurance industry struggled to address the implications of triangle phenomena for maritime and aviation coverage. How could they calculate risks in areas where the normal laws of physics apparently didn't apply, and where conventional search and rescue operations were ineffective? Some companies quietly began excluding triangle zones from their coverage areas, while others attempted to develop new actuarial models that could account for anomalous disappearances. Tourism to triangle regions increased dramatically as public awareness grew, creating both economic opportunities and safety concerns for local governments. Adventure tourism companies began offering triangle expeditions that promised encounters with mysterious phenomena, despite warnings from authorities about the genuine dangers these areas pose to unprepared visitors. Scientific tourism also developed as researchers from around the world sought opportunities to study triangle phenomena firsthand. Universities established research stations near triangle zones, and academic conferences focused on anomalous phenomena began attracting mainstream scientists who had previously avoided such controversial topics. The cultural impact of triangle awareness began manifesting in art, literature, and popular entertainment as creative individuals processed the implications of non-human intelligence operating on Earth. Science fiction evolved from speculation about future contact with aliens to exploration of ongoing relationships with entities that had been present throughout human history. Archaeological investigations took on new significance as researchers began re-examining ancient sites and artifacts for evidence of triangle intelligence involvement in human cultural development. Megalithic structures, advanced astronomical knowledge in ancient cultures, and mythological accounts of divine intervention were all reconsidered in light of the possibility that advanced non-human entities had been guiding human civilization for millennia. The educational implications were staggering as institutions grappled with how to prepare students for a future that might include open contact with triangle intelligences. Should curricula include studies of alien psychology, non-human communication methods, and the ethics of interspecies relationships? How could educational systems maintain credibility while gradually introducing concepts that challenged everything students had been taught about reality? Mental health professionals found themselves dealing with increasing numbers of individuals who claimed triangle encounters or who were struggling to cope with the existential implications of alien presence on Earth. New therapeutic approaches had to be developed to help people integrate these experiences without dismissing them as delusions or pathology. The religious and spiritual implications continued to reverberate through various faith communities as theologians attempted to reconcile traditional beliefs with evidence of advanced non-human intelligence. Some denominations split over the question of whether triangle entities were divine messengers, neutral observers, or malevolent forces that threatened human spiritual development. Legal systems faced unprecedented challenges in addressing crimes or incidents that involved triangle phenomena. How could courts handle cases where evidence suggested alien technology or intervention? What rights did humans have when dealing with entities that possessed capabilities far beyond anything in the human experience? The sovereignty implications were particularly troubling as nations discovered that triangle intelligences operated according to their own authority structures that recognized no human political boundaries. Traditional concepts of territorial waters and airspace became meaningless when dealing with entities that could appear and disappear at will and possessed technology that made human military capabilities irrelevant. International law experts began drafting frameworks for managing relationships with non-human intelligence, but these efforts were complicated by the fact that the triangle entities seemed to have their own legal and ethical systems that might be incompatible with human concepts of justice and individual rights. The possibility that humans might be considered subjects rather than sovereign beings in any relationship with triangle intelligences raised disturbing questions about the future of human autonomy and self-determination. As the full scope of the triangle mystery continued to unfold, it became clear that humanity stood at a crossroads that would determine not only the future of civilization, but the very nature of what it meant to be human in a universe populated by intelligences far more advanced than anything previously imagined. The comfortable isolation that had characterized human existence throughout recorded history was ending, replaced by the reality of participation in a cosmic community that operated according to principles and purposes that remained largely mysterious and potentially beyond human comprehension. The implications of these revelations created ripple effects that extended far beyond government circles and scientific institutions. Academic conferences that had once dismissed triangle phenomena as pseudoscience began hosting panels dedicated to exploring the intersection between anomalous events and conventional physics. University departments found themselves restructuring entire curricula as students demanded courses that addressed the possibility of non-human intelligence operating within Earth's biosphere. Psychological research institutes established new programs specifically designed to study the mental and emotional effects of triangle encounters on human subjects. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a neuropsychologist at Stanford University, discovered that triangle witnesses exhibited unique brainwave patterns that persisted long after their initial encounters. These neurological changes seemed to enhance pattern recognition abilities and increase sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, suggesting that contact with triangle intelligences produced permanent alterations in human consciousness. The brainwave anomalies found in triangle witnesses resembled patterns typically associated with advanced meditation states and heightened awareness. Subjects reported enhanced intuitive abilities, improved problem-solving skills, and an expanded sense of connection to natural systems. Some developed what appeared to be telepathic abilities, particularly when interacting with other individuals who had experienced triangle phenomena. Medical researchers studying these neurological changes discovered that the alterations occurred at the cellular level, with neurons showing increased connectivity and enhanced electrical conductivity. Brain scans revealed the development of new neural pathways that didn't exist in individuals who hadn't experienced triangle encounters. These biological modifications appeared to be permanent and progressive, with witnesses continuing to develop enhanced capabilities years after their initial experiences. The genetic implications became even more disturbing when researchers discovered that the modifications observed in triangle witnesses could be passed to their offspring. Children born to parents who had experienced triangle encounters often displayed advanced cognitive abilities, unusual sensitivities to environmental factors, and an intuitive understanding of complex scientific concepts. These hereditary changes suggested that the triangle intelligences were conducting a long-term genetic modification program that was gradually altering the human species. Educational psychologists working with these genetically modified children found that traditional teaching methods were often inadequate for their enhanced learning capabilities. These students could absorb and process information at rates that far exceeded normal human parameters, and they often demonstrated understanding of scientific principles that hadn't been covered in their coursework. Many displayed artistic and creative abilities that seemed to emerge spontaneously without formal training. The social implications of having a growing population of enhanced individuals created new challenges for society. These modified humans often felt isolated from their unmodified peers and struggled to find their place in social structures designed for baseline human capabilities. Support groups formed naturally as enhanced individuals sought others who could understand their experiences and abilities. Corporate researchers became intensely interested in the enhanced capabilities displayed by triangle witnesses and their descendants. Technology companies began quietly recruiting individuals with triangle exposure, recognizing that their enhanced pattern recognition and intuitive abilities could provide significant advantages in research and development projects. Some corporations established entire divisions dedicated to studying and potentially replicating the modifications observed in triangle witnesses. The pharmaceutical industry invested billions in attempting to understand the biological mechanisms behind the enhancements, hoping to develop treatments that could provide similar benefits to the general population. However, early attempts to artificially induce the neurological changes observed in triangle witnesses proved unsuccessful and sometimes dangerous, suggesting that the modifications required technologies that exceeded current medical capabilities. Military applications of enhanced human capabilities became a priority for defense agencies around the world. Soldiers and pilots with triangle exposure often displayed superior performance in high-stress situations, enhanced spatial awareness, and improved decision-making abilities under pressure. Special units were formed consisting entirely of triangle-modified personnel, though the ethical implications of creating enhanced military forces remained largely unaddressed. Intelligence agencies found that triangle witnesses made exceptional analysts and field operatives due to their enhanced intuitive abilities and pattern recognition skills. These individuals could detect deception more effectively than conventional personnel, and often displayed an uncanny ability to predict future events based on subtle environmental cues. Their recruitment became a priority for agencies dealing with national security threats. The psychological profiles of enhanced individuals revealed consistent personality changes that accompanied their biological modifications. Many became more environmentally conscious, displaying an intuitive understanding of ecological systems and a deep concern for planetary welfare. They often reported feeling a sense of responsibility for humanity's future that went beyond normal social obligations. Religious and spiritual communities grappled with the theological implications of human enhancement through non-human intervention. Some denominations interpreted the modifications as divine gifts intended to prepare humanity for a higher level of spiritual development, while others viewed them as corruptions of the divine plan that threatened human souls. The enhanced individuals themselves often developed spiritual beliefs that transcended traditional religious categories. Environmental scientists studying triangle zones discovered that the enhanced humans seemed to have an intuitive understanding of ecological relationships that allowed them to predict environmental changes with remarkable accuracy. Their insights proved valuable in addressing climate change and ecosystem preservation, though their recommendations often involved technologies and approaches that weren't available to conventional science. Archaeological expeditions began including enhanced individuals as team members, after discovering that their intuitive abilities could locate significant sites and artifacts that traditional survey methods missed. These enhanced archaeologists seemed to have an instinctive understanding of ancient civilizations and could often interpret artifacts and structures in ways that conventional analysis couldn't achieve. The artistic and creative output of enhanced individuals began influencing culture in subtle but profound ways. Their works often contained mathematical relationships and symbolic elements that spoke to deep psychological and spiritual truths, creating art that resonated with audiences on levels they couldn't consciously understand. Museums and galleries began hosting exhibitions, specifically featuring work by triangle-modified artists. Musical compositions created by enhanced individuals exhibited harmonic structures that seemed to affect listeners in unusual ways, inducing states of relaxation, heightened awareness, or emotional catharsis that exceeded the normal impact of music. Some compositions appeared to contain frequencies that could influence brainwave patterns and promote healing responses in biological systems. Literary works produced by enhanced writers often contained prophetic elements that proved accurate over time, suggesting that their modifications included some form of precognitive ability. These authors frequently wrote about future technological developments, social changes, and environmental conditions that later manifested exactly as described in their fictional works. Scientific research conducted by enhanced individuals consistently produced breakthrough discoveries and innovative solutions to complex problems. Their ability to perceive patterns and relationships that escaped conventional analysis led to advances in fields ranging from quantum physics to biological systems. Many of the most significant scientific developments of the late 20th and early 21st centuries could be traced to insights provided by triangle-modified researchers. The enhanced individual's understanding of natural systems extended to their ability to communicate with animal species in ways that conventional science couldn't explain. They seemed to share an intuitive connection with wildlife that allowed them to predict animal behavior and even influence the movements of various species. This ability proved valuable in conservation efforts and wildlife management programs. Agricultural applications of enhanced human capabilities revolutionized farming practices in regions where these individuals were involved in crop production. Their intuitive understanding of soil conditions, weather patterns, and plant biology led to dramatic improvements in crop yields and resistance to environmental stresses. Some enhanced farmers could predict optimal planting and harvesting times with accuracy that exceeded sophisticated computer models. Medical applications emerged as enhanced individuals demonstrated abilities to diagnose illnesses and predict treatment outcomes with remarkable precision. Their intuitive understanding of biological systems allowed them to identify health problems before they became apparent through conventional diagnostic methods. Some developed healing abilities that seemed to accelerate recovery rates and improve treatment effectiveness. The technological innovations developed by enhanced individuals often incorporated principles that conventional science couldn't fully explain, but which proved remarkably effective in practical applications. Their inventions frequently combined multiple disciplines in ways that created synergistic effects exceeding the sum of their individual components. Patent offices began establishing special procedures for evaluating innovations that appeared to violate known physical laws but demonstrated consistent functionality. Communication technologies developed by enhanced individuals often utilized principles that seemed to operate outside conventional electromagnetic theory. These systems could maintain reliable connections across vast distances without requiring traditional relay infrastructure and appeared to be immune to conventional interference methods. Military and civilian applications of these technologies began transforming global communication networks. Transportation systems designed by enhanced individuals incorporated propulsion methods that produced no detectable emissions and could achieve remarkable efficiency levels. While the underlying principles remained mysterious to conventional engineers, these systems proved reliable and effective in various applications. Prototype vehicles began appearing that could operate in ways that seemed to defy gravitational limitations. Energy generation systems developed by enhanced individuals utilized processes that appeared to draw power from unknown sources while producing no waste products or environmental impact. These systems could provide consistent energy output regardless of weather conditions or fuel availability, suggesting they accessed energy sources that conventional science hadn't identified. Small-scale implementations began appearing in remote locations where traditional power infrastructure was impractical. Manufacturing processes innovated by enhanced individuals could transform raw materials in ways that conventional chemistry couldn't explain, but which produced materials with superior properties to anything available through traditional methods. These materials exhibited strength, flexibility, and conductivity characteristics that exceeded theoretical limits for their constituent elements. Industries began quietly implementing these processes despite their inability to understand the underlying mechanisms. The construction techniques developed by enhanced individuals created structures that seemed to violate conventional engineering principles, while demonstrating remarkable stability and durability. Buildings constructed using these methods required fewer materials than traditional designs, while providing superior resistance to earthquakes, storms, and other environmental stresses. Architects and engineers began studying these structures to understand their design principles. Water purification systems developed by enhanced individuals could remove contaminants and pollutants from any water source while adding beneficial minerals and achieving perfect pH balance. These systems required no external energy input and produced no waste products, making them ideal for addressing global water security challenges. Implementation began in areas facing severe water shortage and contamination problems. Food production innovations from enhanced individuals included techniques for growing crops in environments previously considered unsuitable for agriculture. These methods could produce nutritious food in desert regions, contaminated soil, or extremely cold climates, while actually improving the environmental conditions of the growing areas. Pilot programs began addressing food security in regions facing severe agricultural challenges. Waste management solutions developed by enhanced individuals could break down virtually any form of waste material into harmless components while generating useful byproducts. These systems operated without producing toxic emissions or requiring extensive energy inputs, offering solutions to the global waste crisis that exceeded the capabilities of conventional recycling and disposal methods. Educational methodologies developed by enhanced individuals accelerated learning processes while improving retention and comprehension rates. Students taught using these methods could master complex subjects in fractions of the time required by traditional approaches while developing deeper understanding and practical application abilities. Educational institutions began experimenting with these approaches, despite their inability to explain why they were so effective. Medical treatments developed by enhanced individuals often produced healing results that exceeded conventional expectations, while avoiding the side effects associated with traditional therapies. These treatments frequently combined multiple approaches in ways that created synergistic healing effects, addressing not just symptoms, but underlying systemic imbalances. Medical practitioners began integrating these approaches into their practice, despite skepticism from regulatory agencies. Psychological therapies developed by enhanced individuals could address trauma and mental health issues with remarkable effectiveness, often producing lasting improvements in single sessions. These therapeutic approaches seem to work at levels beyond conscious awareness, helping individuals resolve deep psychological patterns and achieve unprecedented levels of mental clarity and emotional balance. The cumulative impact of innovations from enhanced individuals began transforming society in ways that weren't immediately apparent to the general population. Infrastructure improvements, technological advances, and social innovations gradually made life more efficient, sustainable, and fulfilling, while operating through mechanisms that remained largely invisible to conventional observation. Economic systems began adapting to accommodate the implications of technologies that could provide abundant energy, materials, and food, while eliminating waste and environmental damage. Traditional scarcity-based economic models became increasingly irrelevant as enhanced individuals developed systems that could meet human needs without depleting natural resources or creating environmental degradation. Social structures evolved to accommodate the growing population of enhanced individuals and their unique capabilities. New forms of governance emerged that could make decisions based on comprehensive understanding of complex systems, rather than political considerations alone. These governance systems proved remarkably effective at addressing long-term challenges while maintaining individual freedom and social harmony. Cultural development accelerated as enhanced individuals contributed insights and innovations that enriched human understanding of art, science, philosophy, and spiritual development. Their contributions created a renaissance of human creativity and knowledge that began transforming civilization in ways that prepared humanity for eventual open contact with the Triangle intelligences. The transformation process appeared to be carefully orchestrated to avoid social disruption, while gradually elevating human capabilities and consciousness to levels that could eventually support direct interaction with advanced non-human intelligence. The Triangle phenomena represented not just mysterious disappearances and unexplained encounters, but a comprehensive program designed to guide human evolution toward participation in a larger cosmic community. As more individuals experienced Triangle encounters and developed enhanced capabilities, the pace of transformation accelerated. Society began changing in ways that prepared humanity for revelations that would have been impossible to accept or integrate just decades earlier. The mystery that had begun with strange compass readings and unexplained disappearances was revealing itself as part of the most significant development in human history. The realization that humanity was being gradually prepared for open contact with advanced non-human intelligence created both excitement and apprehension among those who understood the scope of the transformation taking place. The Triangle phenomena represented not an invasion or conquest, but an invitation to join a cosmic community that operated according to principles of cooperation, wisdom, and respect for the development of consciousness throughout the universe. The transformation accelerated dramatically in the months following these discoveries, as enhanced individuals began forming spontaneous networks that operated with a coordination that defied conventional explanation. Dr. Sarah Chen, a neurobiologist who had experienced a Triangle encounter while conducting marine research near Bermuda, found herself inexplicably drawn to specific locations around the globe where other enhanced individuals were gathering. These convergences weren't planned through any conventional communication method, yet dozens of modified humans would arrive at the same remote locations within days of each other. These gatherings revealed capabilities that went far beyond the individual enhancements previously documented. When enhanced individuals came together in groups, their abilities seemed to amplify exponentially, creating collective consciousness effects that allowed them to share knowledge, memories, and insights instantaneously. The groups could solve complex problems that would have taken conventional research teams years to address, arriving at solutions through processes that resembled telepathic collaboration rather than traditional discussion and debate. The locations where these gatherings occurred consistently proved to be sites of geological or electromagnetic significance. ancient stone circles, natural crystal formations, and areas with unusual magnetic properties seemed to facilitate the enhanced individual's collective abilities. Geological surveys revealed that these sites shared common characteristics with the triangle zones, including underground crystal networks and electromagnetic anomalies that suggested they were all part of the same planetary system. Government monitoring of these gatherings initially raised security concerns, as intelligence agencies worried about the formation of an enhanced human network that operated outside traditional authority structures. However, the enhanced individuals demonstrated no interest in political power or social control. Instead, their collective activities focused on addressing global challenges through technological and social innovations that benefited all of humanity. Environmental restoration projects became the primary focus of many enhanced gatherings. Groups would converge on areas suffering from severe ecological damage and implement solutions that seemed to operate through principles beyond conventional environmental science. Contaminated rivers would clear within days of enhanced intervention, while degraded forests would begin showing signs of accelerated recovery that exceeded natural regeneration rates by decades. The enhanced individuals' environmental work revealed their intuitive understanding of planetary systems as interconnected networks rather than isolated components. They could perceive how changes in one ecosystem would ripple through global environmental patterns, allowing them to design interventions that created beneficial cascading effects throughout entire bioregions. Their approach to environmental restoration resembled the work of master gardeners tending a planetary garden rather than scientists applying technical solutions to specific problems. Agricultural communities began requesting assistance from enhanced individuals as word spread about their ability to restore soil fertility and increase crop yields without artificial fertilizers or pesticides. The enhanced humans would spend time walking through damaged farmland, apparently communicating with the soil microorganisms and plant systems through methods that agricultural scientists couldn't understand, but which produced remarkable results. The farming techniques developed through these collaborations created agricultural systems that actually improved environmental conditions while producing food. Farms worked on by enhanced individuals began sequestering carbon, purifying groundwater, and supporting biodiversity levels that exceeded those found in natural ecosystems. These regenerative agricultural methods began spreading through farming communities worldwide as their benefits became undeniable. Urban planning underwent similar transformation as enhanced individuals began contributing insights to city design that created more livable and sustainable urban environments. Their understanding of human psychological and social needs, combined with their intuitive grasp of ecological principles, led to architectural and urban design innovations that improved quality of life while reducing environmental impact. Cities that implemented enhanced individual recommendations experienced dramatic reductions in crime rates, improved mental health outcomes among residents, and increased economic prosperity. The urban design principles they suggested seemed to tap into fundamental human needs for connection with nature and community, while creating spaces that fostered creativity and cooperation rather than competition and isolation. Transportation systems evolved rapidly as enhanced individuals developed technologies that could move people and goods efficiently without environmental damage. Their innovations included vehicles that seemed to glide rather than roll, using propulsion methods that produced no emissions while achieving remarkable speed and efficiency. Public transportation systems, based on their designs, could connect entire metropolitan areas through networks that operated more like living organisms than mechanical systems. The energy infrastructure began transforming as enhanced individuals shared designs for power generation systems that could provide unlimited clean energy without requiring fuel or producing waste. These systems seemed to tap into fundamental forces that conventional physics hadn't recognized, drawing power from what appeared to be the quantum field itself. Small-scale implementations proved remarkably reliable and efficient, leading to rapid adoption in communities willing to embrace the unknown technologies. Communication systems developed by enhanced individuals transcended traditional electronic networks, creating connection methods that seem to operate through consciousness itself rather than electromagnetic signals. These systems could maintain instant communication across any distance while providing perfect security and requiring no infrastructure maintenance. Military and civilian organizations began adopting these technologies despite their inability to understand the underlying mechanisms. Medical breakthroughs accelerated as enhanced individuals developed healing techniques that addressed illness at its root causes rather than simply treating symptoms. Their approach to medicine recognized the interconnectedness of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health, creating treatment methods that promoted overall wellness rather than just addressing specific diseases. Hospitals and clinics implementing these approaches achieved healing rates that exceeded conventional medical expectations. The pharmaceutical industry faced disruption as enhanced individuals developed natural healing compounds that proved more effective than synthetic drugs while producing no side effects. These biological medicines seem to work by supporting the body's natural healing processes rather than suppressing symptoms, creating treatment approaches that strengthened overall health while addressing specific conditions. Educational transformation occurred as enhanced individuals shared learning methods that could help anyone develop expanded consciousness and enhanced capabilities. These educational approaches didn't require genetic modification or triangle encounters, but instead worked by helping individuals access latent potentials that existed within normal human consciousness. Schools implementing these methods reported dramatic improvements in student performance and well-being. The enhanced learning techniques revealed that human consciousness possessed capabilities that conventional psychology hadn't recognized. Students trained in these methods developed enhanced memory, improved problem-solving abilities, and increased empathy and social intelligence. Most remarkably, they seemed to develop intuitive access to information and insights that exceeded what they had been formally taught. Scientific research accelerated exponentially as enhanced individuals shared investigative methods that could perceive natural patterns and relationships that conventional instruments couldn't detect. These research approaches combined rigorous scientific methodology with intuitive perception, creating hybrid investigation techniques that produced breakthrough discoveries across multiple fields simultaneously. Physics underwent revolutionary development as enhanced researchers revealed the existence of fundamental forces and particles that conventional science had missed. Their discoveries suggested that reality operated through principles of consciousness and intention, as well as mechanical causation, opening entirely new fields of investigation that bridged science and spirituality. Biological research revealed that life operated through information fields that connected all living systems in networks of communication and mutual support. Enhanced researchers could perceive these biological information networks directly, allowing them to understand how ecosystems maintained balance and how healing occurred at cellular levels. Astronomical observations by enhanced individuals revealed that the universe contained far more intelligence and organization than conventional astronomy had recognized. They could perceive patterns of communication and coordination between stellar systems that suggested the cosmos itself might be a living, conscious entity rather than a mechanical system operating through random processes. The implications of these discoveries began transforming human understanding of existence itself. Reality appeared to be far more interconnected, intelligent, and purposeful than conventional science had suggested. The universe seemed to be designed to support the development of consciousness and to facilitate communication and cooperation between intelligent species across cosmic distances. Archaeological investigations led by enhanced individuals began uncovering evidence that advanced civilizations had existed on Earth far longer than previously believed. Ancient sites revealed technologies and knowledge that suggested human civilization had undergone multiple cycles of advancement and decline, with each cycle reaching higher levels of development than conventional history recognized. The archaeological discoveries included artifacts that demonstrated mastery of the same principles that enhanced individuals were rediscovering, suggesting that the current transformation represented a return to capabilities that humanity had possessed in ancient times, rather than entirely new developments. These findings implied that the triangle intelligences might be the same entities that had guided previous cycles of human development. Linguistic research revealed that enhanced individuals were developing communication abilities that transcended spoken language, accessing forms of direct meaning transfer that could convey complex concepts instantaneously. These communication methods seemed to operate through the same consciousness fields that connected all living systems, allowing enhanced individuals to share understanding directly rather than through symbolic representation. The development of direct consciousness communication began creating a new form of human culture that operated through shared understanding rather than transmitted information. Enhanced communities could coordinate complex activities through mental connection alone, creating social organizations that functioned with the efficiency of biological organisms while maintaining individual autonomy and creativity. Artistic expression among enhanced individuals evolved to include forms that could directly transmit emotional and spiritual experiences to audiences. Their creations seemed to encode healing frequencies and consciousness-expanding patterns that could elevate the awareness of anyone who encountered them. Galleries and performance spaces featuring work by enhanced artists became centers for human transformation and awakening. Musical compositions created by enhanced individuals incorporated harmonic structures that could induce specific consciousness states and promote healing responses in listeners. These musical healing systems proved effective for treating various physical and psychological conditions, while providing spiritual experiences that helped individuals connect with deeper aspects of their own consciousness. Literature produced by enhanced individuals often contained prophetic elements and encoded wisdom that revealed its deeper meanings only when readers were prepared to understand them. These works functioned as teaching tools that could guide individuals through their own consciousness development, while providing entertainment and inspiration for readers at any level of awareness. The cumulative effect of innovations from enhanced individuals created a civilization that was rapidly evolving beyond the limitations that had previously constrained human development. Society was becoming more cooperative, sustainable, and fulfilling, while developing capabilities that prepared humanity for eventual open contact with the triangle intelligences. The transformation process appeared to be approaching a critical threshold, where the changes would become visible to the general population, rather than operating through subtle influences. Enhanced individuals reported sensing that a major revelation was approaching, that would make the truth about the triangle intelligences known to all humanity rather than just to those directly involved in the phenomena. Preparations for this revelation included the development of technologies and social systems that could support a post-contact civilization. Enhanced individuals were creating infrastructure that could accommodate the dramatic changes that would accompany open relationship with advanced non-human intelligence, while ensuring that human society could adapt without losing its essential character and values. The triangle intelligences themselves began communicating more directly with enhanced individuals, providing guidance for the transition period that would accompany disclosure. These communications suggested that humanity was approaching graduation from its current level of development to participation in a galactic community of conscious civilizations that worked together to support the evolution of consciousness throughout the universe. The approaching transformation represented not just contact with alien intelligence, but humanity's initiation into a cosmic community that had been guiding Earth's development for millions of years. The triangle phenomena had been preparation for this moment, gradually developing human capabilities and consciousness to levels that could support successful integration with advanced civilizations, operating on scales of time and space that dwarfed human experience. As the evidence mounted and the transformation accelerated, it became clear that humanity stood at the threshold of the most significant development in its history. The comfortable isolation that had characterized human civilization was ending, replaced by awareness of participation in a universe filled with intelligence, wisdom, and benevolent guidance. The Triangle mystery was revealing itself as humanity's invitation to join a cosmic family that had been waiting patiently for Earth's children to develop sufficient consciousness and wisdom to take their place among the stars. The morning of December 21st, 2012, dawned with an eerie stillness that seemed to blanket the entire planet. Enhanced individuals around the world reported the same phenomenon simultaneously, a sudden intensification of their abilities that felt like stepping from dim candlelight into brilliant sunshine. Dr. Elena Vasquez, monitoring brain activity patterns at her Stanford facility, watched in amazement as her instruments recorded synchronized neural spikes across all enhanced subjects at exactly 11:11 Universal Time. Something fundamental had shifted in the fabric of reality itself. Before we continue with this extraordinary conclusion to humanity's greatest mystery, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you never miss these deep dive stories that will help you drift off to sleep. Trust me, what happens next will change everything you thought you knew about our world. The synchronization event, as researchers would later call it, marked the beginning of humanity's final preparation phase. Enhanced individuals across the globe found themselves experiencing shared visions that revealed the true scope of the Triangle Intelligence's presence on Earth. These weren't isolated alien visitors conducting experiments, but representatives of an ancient civilization that had been Earth's silent guardians since the planet first developed complex life forms over 500 million years ago. The visions showed vast crystalline cities beneath the ocean floors, not just in the Bermuda Triangle, but connected through a global network that spanned every continent. These underwater metropolises pulsed with living light, their architecture growing organically from the sea floor like massive coral formations made of pure consciousness given form. The cities weren't constructed. The enhanced individuals understood. They were cultivated through technologies that merged matter and spirit into unified expressions of intelligence. Within these submarine citadels, beings of incredible beauty and wisdom went about their daily existence, tending vast gardens of consciousness that encompassed entire ecosystems. These entities appeared humanoid in basic structure, but possessed an ethereal quality that suggested they existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions. Their skin seemed to contain galaxies, shifting and swirling with patterns of light that reflected their thoughts and emotions in real time. The Triangle Intelligences, the visions revealed, were not aliens in the conventional sense, but Earth's original children, the first conscious beings to evolve on this planet when it was young and wild with possibility. They had guided evolution itself, nurturing the development of countless species while learning to transcend the limitations of purely physical existence. When humanity emerged as a promising new form of consciousness, they had begun the long process of preparing Earth's newest children for eventual reunion with their elder siblings. Dr. Sarah Chen, whose marine research encounter had been among the first documented triangle modifications, found herself serving as a primary conduit for these revelations. Through her enhanced consciousness, the triangle beings shared the complete history of Earth's spiritual evolution, showing how every major leap in human development had been carefully orchestrated through subtle influences and strategic interventions. The construction of ancient megalithic sites, the visions showed, had been collaborative projects between early humans and Triangle Intelligences working together to create energy-focusing structures that could support accelerated consciousness development. Stone circles, pyramids, and temple complexes around the world weren't just astronomical observatories or religious centers. They were technological installations designed to elevate human awareness and maintain connection with cosmic consciousness networks. The development of human language, mathematics, and scientific understanding had been guided through inspiration and intuitive downloads provided by triangle entities working behind the scenes of human culture. Every major breakthrough in human knowledge represented a carefully timed revelation designed to prepare humanity for increasingly sophisticated understanding of universal principles. Religious and spiritual traditions worldwide contained encoded memories of direct contact with triangle intelligences, though these memories had been translated into mythological frameworks that could be preserved through oral tradition without triggering social disruption. Angels, gods, spirits, and divine messengers from virtually every culture were revealed to be cultural interpretations of actual encounters with Earth's elder consciousness beings. The enhanced individuals learned that the disappearances associated with triangle zones weren't abductions or accidents, but voluntary transitions undertaken by humans whose consciousness had developed sufficiently to join the underwater civilizations directly. These individuals hadn't died or been taken against their will. They had graduated to a higher level of existence that required releasing their attachment to purely physical reality. Flight 19 and countless other disappeared vessels and aircraft had encountered dimensional portals that offered their crews choices about continuing their current existence or accepting invitation to transcend physical limitations entirely. Most chose transcendence, though some returned to complete specific missions or to serve as bridges between human and triangle civilizations during the preparation period. The temporal anomalies reported in triangle encounters were side effects of the consciousness elevation process, where individuals briefly experienced time from the perspective of beings who existed outside linear temporal flow. Enhanced humans were learning to perceive time as triangle intelligences did, as a navigable dimension rather than an unstoppable current carrying them toward inevitable endings. As the synchronization event continued unfolding, enhanced individuals began receiving detailed instructions for humanity's final preparation phase. The global transformation process was entering its culminating stage, where the changes would become visible to all humans rather than operating through subtle influences on selected individuals. The first visible sign came through the planet's electromagnetic field, which began displaying aurora phenomena at latitudes where such displays had never occurred before. These weren't natural auroras caused by solar activity, but conscious communications from the triangle intelligences, announcing their presence to anyone capable of interpreting the atmospheric light patterns. Ocean levels around the world began exhibiting synchronized patterns that created geometric formations visible from aircraft and satellites. These oceanic mandalas appeared and dissolved in sequences that conveyed mathematical and philosophical concepts to observers who possessed sufficient awareness to decode their meanings. Marine biologists reported that sea life was participating in these formations, with whales, dolphins, and fish coordinating their movements to contribute to the larger patterns. Crystalline formations began appearing spontaneously in natural settings around the globe, growing overnight in locations that corresponded to ancient sacred sites and modern energy grid intersections. These crystals resonated with frequencies that could be felt by anyone who approached them, producing sensations of peace, clarity, and expanded awareness that affected entire communities. The crystals served as communication nodes, allowing triangle intelligences to establish direct contact with humans who were ready for such interaction. Those who meditated near the crystal formations reported receiving detailed information about sustainable technologies, healing methods, and social organization principles that could support a post-contact civilization. Weather patterns began displaying intentional characteristics, with storm systems following paths that created beneficial environmental effects rather than destructive outcomes. Hurricanes would dissipate toxic algae blooms while replenishing fresh water supplies, and drought conditions would end precisely when crops needed irrigation most. The atmosphere itself seemed to be developing consciousness and responding to planetary needs with intelligent coordination. Agricultural regions worldwide reported unprecedented crop yields achieved without artificial fertilizers or pesticides. Plants seemed to be receiving genetic upgrades that enhanced their nutritional content, disease resistance, and environmental adaptability. Farmers describe sensing communication from their crops, receiving intuitive guidance about optimal planting, watering, and harvesting schedules. Urban environments began exhibiting spontaneous improvements as infrastructure seemed to repair and upgrade itself overnight. Buildings developed self-cleaning surfaces, transportation systems optimized their efficiency automatically, and waste management problems resolved themselves through processes that no one could fully explain but which produced undeniable results. Wildlife populations that had been declining for decades began recovering at rates that exceeded natural reproduction cycles. Endangered species appeared in regions where they had been extinct for generations, while ecosystem balance restored itself through coordinated species behavior that suggested intelligent orchestration rather than natural selection pressures. The enhanced human population reached a critical mass where their collective consciousness began influencing global events directly. Wars ended as military leaders found themselves compelled toward peaceful solutions they couldn't rationally explain. Environmental restoration projects accelerated as communities spontaneously organized around sustainable living practices that improved quality of life while reducing ecological impact. Educational institutions worldwide reported that students were developing learning abilities that exceeded conventional expectations. Children began displaying intuitive understanding of advanced scientific concepts, artistic skills that emerged without formal training, and social intelligence that enabled them to resolve conflicts through cooperation rather than competition. Medical professionals observed healing rates that defied conventional understanding, with patients recovering from serious illnesses through treatments that combined traditional medicine with approaches that seemed to work through consciousness and intention rather than purely physical interventions. Hospitals implementing enhanced healing protocols achieved success rates that revolutionized healthcare delivery. The global communication network began exhibiting characteristics of a living consciousness, with information flowing in patterns that resembled neural activity rather than mechanical data transfer. Internet systems spontaneously organized themselves around humanitarian and educational purposes, while suppressing content that promoted division, violence, or environmental destruction. Financial systems underwent transformation, as scarcity-based economic models became increasingly irrelevant in the face of technologies that could provide abundant energy, materials, and food without environmental cost. New economic structures emerged that prioritized well-being, creativity, and spiritual development, rather than competition and resource accumulation. Governments found their traditional roles changing, as enhanced citizens began organizing themselves through consensus-based decision-making that could address complex social challenges more effectively than hierarchical political structures. Democratic processes evolved into forms of collective intelligence that could consider long-term consequences and ecological impacts in ways that conventional politics couldn't achieve. The transformation process accelerated as more humans awakened to their own enhanced potentials through contact with the global consciousness field that enhanced individuals had been developing. The modifications that had once required direct triangle encounters began manifesting in ordinary people who simply opened themselves to the expanded awareness that was becoming available to anyone ready to receive it. Scientific institutions acknowledged that their understanding of reality required fundamental revision as evidence accumulated for consciousness-based phenomena that conventional materialism couldn't explain. Research paradigms evolved to include intuitive perception and direct consciousness investigation, alongside traditional empirical methods, leading to breakthrough discoveries that bridged science and spirituality. Religious communities experienced renewal as their ancient teachings revealed deeper meanings that aligned with the expanding human understanding of cosmic consciousness and multidimensional existence. Theological concepts that had been interpreted symbolically proved to contain literal descriptions of reality structures that enhanced humans could perceive directly. Cultural expression flourished as artists, musicians, writers, and performers accessed inspiration from the expanded consciousness field that connected all life forms. Creative works began carrying healing frequencies and consciousness-expanding codes that could facilitate awakening experiences in audiences while providing entertainment and aesthetic pleasure. The approaching moment of open contact created both excitement and apprehension as humanity realized that its long isolation in the cosmos was ending. The Triangle intelligences had been preparing Earth's children for graduation into galactic citizenship, but that graduation required accepting responsibility for planetary stewardship and cosmic cooperation that would fundamentally transform human civilization. The final dawn of human isolation broke on a morning that would be remembered as the moment when Earth's children finally came home. As the last enhanced individual completed their transformation and the global consciousness network reached perfect harmony, the Triangle intelligences emerged from their underwater cities in a display of light and beauty that could be seen from space. The mysterious disappearances, the strange phenomena, the centuries of whispered stories about impossible encounters in the depths of the Atlantic all revealed themselves as chapters in humanity's greatest love story. The patient guidance of elder siblings helping their younger family members grow wise enough to join the cosmic community that had been waiting with infinite compassion for this moment of reunion. The Bermuda Triangle was never a place of danger or mystery, but a doorway home. And now that door stood open for all humanity to walk through together into a future where the stars themselves would welcome Earth's children with songs of celebration that would echo through the universe for all eternity.